Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and this is the first layout with my Close to My Heart in Full Bloom scrapbooking workshop kit. That was a mouthful. So if you guys remember last time I used Close to My Heart, I bought the scrapbooking workshop plus the extra paper, which was nice because if I didn't like a particular paper, I could just substitute it with an extra, and I had that extra paper to where it wouldn't mess up what I needed for the rest of the pages. I also like that because I could squeeze in a few extra layouts at the end with all the extra pieces. But I'm kind of interested to see how much I can do with just the workshop. I feel like the way I save paper and gut, I will have enough left over without the extra paper to squeeze in a couple extra layouts anyways. So I'm kind of wanting to see how that goes this month. Part of that being I filmed my kit share that you saw on the first at the end of February, and then through that first weekend, I made 8 layouts with this collection and have pretty much used it all already. That's why I love Close to My Heart so much. It's so easy to work with, and I just had so much fun. And there was a zoom crop in the midst of that as well, which also helped me be super productive. But I just love how much I can do with this collection, and it's not super draining or taxing on my brain. So I'm excited to go through them. But this is the first page of the first project from the workbook. So you'll see that workbook on my desk. So you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing, and a couple times I'll bring it in view so you can kind of check my progress. But I'm trying to follow their instructions for this first page. I actually am using one horizontal 4x6 the same way they are. I know last time I used this kit, my photos were all different proportions, which ended up changing it a lot, but I actually have the same photo size they do, which is nice. Because they do give you those little white photo placeholders, I decided to trim down my photo a tiny bit so I could actually use that as a white mat, which was nice. And then I'm doing the same thing they did and using that teal to do a thicker mat around my page. And you can see just how much I am saving. I know I'm going to have a lot of these florals covering up the left side of that frame, so I really only need this little piece for it to look like a full mat. That's my photo mat pretty much, and now I need to put together my 12 by 12. So they basically have 2 papers from their collection that they pieced together to form the 12 by 12. And I'm pretty sure they used the entire 12 by 12 of this newsprint, and then just glued, half of the other paper on top of it. But of course, I'm going to try and save as much as possible, and there's too much paper covered, so I'm just going to completely trim and save that half. So I'll have that for later. They did recommend having some Ranger ink and opaque white texture paste, and I didn't realize this in the beginning, but it's because they kind of walk you through how to color your white texture paste with an ink pad, and that's what they ended up using through that stencil that we saw in the beginning of the month. So I'd pulled in a lot of different things for me to do mixed media with. Of course, I don't have the peacock texture or ink pad, but I do have the green one from Ranger. But anyways, I decided, you know what? If I need to do some blue texture paste, I have some Heidi Swap texture paste in mint, but it looks very much more like a teal. And I'm like, that's actually perfect. That's been in my stash for forever. So I decided to use that for my texture paste instead. So I just ran that through the stencil with my Vicky Bouton little texture scraper. I don't know what that thing is called. And I just kind of set that aside to dry. But you can see I cut the paper in half, and now I'm cutting my other paper in half, and I wasn't paying attention to how this other paper was laying, and I trimmed it from the wrong side. But it's okay, because when I piece it all together, you're not going to be able to tell. Someone actually recently just commented in my comments if, like, while I'm gutting, I end up gutting incorrectly. Yes, that happens all the time. But the beautiful thing about that is papers like this, where it's more distressed and it's a newsprint, you really can't tell when you put it back together. But if I got too much and there's this gap in my background, to me that just invites me to add an extra layer to cover that up. But it does happen all the time. So now that it's all together, you can't see where I messed up that paper. I'm kind of matting everything. I decided to mat it on one of my cheap black cardstocks from my stash. So I have like a skinny black border around this whole page, which I really like. There's a lot of bold pops of black with the cardstock embellishment in this kit. So I really like pulling that into the background as well by having that skinny black frame. There is this floral film strip running over the seam, which I really like. I usually don't like the seams of two papers being, a focal point of my page. So I really like that they've incorporated this sticker to cover the seam between those two pages. And I think that adds a really fun decorative edge. This is the first page I'm making, and I'm not quite sure like how much of this film strip will be covered, but in the photo, like the whole middle third of that film strip is covered by embellishment. So I could have gutted that part of the sticker and saved it. But I decided I wouldn't on this one, just to see how I end up layering my flowers, just in case I end up needing that part of the film strip. So I did kind of think about that, because I was like, oh, I could save this bit if I could make sure to cover the gap, but I decided not to mess with it. And now I'm pulling in all of the ephemera. So I punched out everything that they said was for project 1 and kind of separated what was on this page versus the second page. And then I went through and pulled out all of the black cardstock punch outs that coordinate with that's on this page, and then I'm going through the sticker sheet and also pulling in all the stickers that I saw they used from the sticker sheet. So I have everything they used out, and now it's just a game of putting it together. I really enjoyed last time I worked with this kit, kind of making their design my own by tweaking little things and adding different things, and I really liked this page as they did it. There was only one thing that kind of bothered me on their layout that I just knew I wanted to tweak on mine, and it was that gap between the tag to the right of the photo and the floral cluster to the left. So I don't know if you can see that on that little miniature version of their layout to the left there, but I just didn't like that gap. I wanted it covered with something, or I wanted to move that tag elsewhere. So you'll kind of see, I did tweak that when we kind of get there, but for the most part, this whole floral cluster, I'm really keeping true to what they did. I like the way they layered it. I really like how the pops of the black cardstock pieces are spread out, so the black is pretty balanced. So I'm just going through and kind of copying what they did. And that just takes a minute to get everything glued down. There are several bits I'm popping up on some foam. So the small florals in that cluster I'm popping up on some foam. The little butterfly sticker and kind of the confetti small flower stickers that are kind of spread out. Those are popped up on some foam. And then when I get to It's a Good Life, that banner, that's popped up on some foam as well. So I like that different dimension. I really think it helps because if everything lays flat, you can't really tell how many layers they are. All of these die cuts can kind of read as one piece, and it kind of takes away from like how much work it really was to get them all layered on top of each other, just so I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to cover up Bennett in the photo too much because he's making that funny face. I love this photo. Becca sent it to me. She was kind of taking a selfie with her two boys, and Bennett's making this really funny cheese face, and Avery's just looking at Bennett like he is like... like, what are you doing, dude? And I just like the whole photo. So I want to make sure that they can all be seen around all of these floral clusters. And I thought it was kind of perfect because the photo, the chair is this kind of teal with white, and then they're all wearing green and blue. So it was really kind of perfect for this collection. I was really happy with that. There's that banner going up on some foam. I think I'm almost done with this whole florally section, and then I can start working on the pieces that are to the right of the photo. There's a couple white scallopy things. That tag goes over there with the butterfly that'll also pop up on some foam. But I'm kind of going to tweak it a little bit. It just feels not balanced. I'm okay with the scallopy piece and the black sticker on the bottom of the page because I feel like it kind of extends from the It's a Good Life banner. but the top portion just looks kind of disconnected. So you can already see I'm kind of dragging that butterfly down a little bit so it's more in the photo and to the side versus on top. And then I'm still going to have the tag over there, but I'm going to tuck it around the corner as well, so it more fills up the gap on the side versus adding this thing, this like focal point on top. But even after I do that, I still want some kind of detail, like connecting the florally cluster to the left with this tag on the right. So I'll end up bringing in a doily and just tucking that in up there, just so there's some kind of decorative thing to kind of connect all of these clusters, so the photo's really like just surrounded by fun embellishment, because the rest of the page is pretty kind of left as is, which I like because this newsprint paper with the cameras and the butterflies is really cute. But I think there is so much going on in the floral cluster. Everything else kind of needs to be toned down. So I'm just trying to layer so my eye is happy without adding too much. I decided not to use that white scallopy piece behind the tag, but I did still want a layery bit over there. So I pulled in a glassine bag. It adds that extra texture and layer without it being too bold. For whatever reason, the white just really grabs your attention off of the more gray newsprint background, and I just really didn't want it to grab your attention. So I'm saving that scallopy bit for the next page, and I think I'll get it on the next page as an extra layery bit. But I decided not to use on that one. Sorry, Marcus is playing with friends again, if you can hear him in the background. It's probably going to be all month long because I have 9 voiceovers to do today, and he's home playing with friends. So he might just make a lot of guest appearances in the background of this voiceover this whole month. But yeah, so I kind of like that. I added my black and white twine I pulled into my kit this month. I'm loving the black and white twine with this very newsprint looking collection. And now I'm just trying to really stick the rest of it down. I know I want to add a different title. I love this floral cluster over here, but it's a lot of florals. It's just a big blob of florals. Like I need something to draw my eye and focus on over by those florally clusters. So I thought with all of these really bold pops of black, it would be kind of cool if I could find a good sized black, like bold foam thicker to do a title on top of the floral cluster. So that way it kind of serves a purpose as the base for my title, because your eye's drawn to that cluster right away anyways. So it would make sense if your eye would be drawn there for a purpose like a title. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to use that other white floral piece. I decide not to. I did add a couple little bits of my black and white washies I pulled in this month. I thought that was a nice accent to the right of the photo that kind of ties in with this vertical film strip that you see. I'm glad I didn't gut the film strip because you can see a little bit of it peeking out by Bennett's face. So I like that continuation that you can see it there so you know it really is a full piece. I am just adding the date on that little sticker down there. And this is where I'm pretty much done with their design. And I want to figure out how to finish it to where I'm happy with it. So I am going through and adding my blue enamel dots. These are from Michaels. They're just Recollections brand. And actually, no, they're not. I'm lying. These ones are, these are Paper Studio. So that means they're from Hobby Lobby. But yeah, I'm just sprinkling those in 2 areas. And then when I go in with my black thicker, I was really excited. I forgot about this thicker. I forgot I had this black thicker, and I love this font, and it's like the perfect size. So I decided to do this for my title, and I'm just going to layer it over that yellow flower in the middle of the cluster. I'm just calling it Silly Boys because both of them just look funny in this photo. I love the faces they're making. And then I pulled in a secondary thicker sheet that had a couple arrows on it and a couple like dots, and I'm thinking I can kind of accent this thicker with those extra little bits, just so there's that extra foam texture and black pops around the page. And I really think that helps kind of pull out the black cardstock elements, adding these other bold black things. So I have an arrow pointing to Bennett, and then another one of Avery kind of pointing down to the date, and then I'm putting these 3 dots kind of as I would enamel dots around the cluster, just to add a little bit extra. And that's pretty much it. I am inking around the edge. I didn't think I was going to do this because I matted it in black, but the more I looked at it, the more I really wanted to pull in a little bit more of the green, because the green is really only in those leafy clusters. So I do have my peeled paint distress ink, and I decided to go ahead and go around and ink the edge in green as well. And obviously you can't see this green on the black frame, but I'm inking enough to where you can see it on the newsprint paper. And I really like having that kind of soft green detail around the edge, so I'm really happy with that. This green goes perfect with this collection as well. So if you're like me and you're kind of deciding if you want to buy the ink pad or not, the Close to My Heart website has both of these ink pads. They recommended the peacock feather, which is more of this bluey one, but the peeled paint, which is this green, is also perfect for this collection. So here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.